13 years after his competitive MMA journey began, former Bellator title challenger Austin Vanderford will debut Saturday at UFC Fight Night 252 in Seattle in a 175-pound catchweight bout versus Nikolai Verotonikov. The bout will take place in the prelims at Clivet Pledge Arena. Vanderford is the husband of former UFC star Paige Van Zandt. He competed 7 times in Bellator from 2019 to 2022 and compiled a 5-2 promotional record, including a failed title challenge versus Gegard Mousasi. Vanderford became a free agent following the PFL-Bellator merger and won his LFA debut in 65 seconds in October. That first-round stoppage win has now led Austin to an unlikely UFC signing. His opponent Nikolai Verotonikov is a product of Dana White looking for a fight and Dana White's Contender Series. He debuted in August, but lost a split decision to Danny Barlow. Dricus du Plessis thinks Belal Muhammad might be barking up the wrong tree. The UFC welterweight champion recently took a shot at the entire middleweight division, including champion du Plessis, telling Barstool Chicago that 185 is probably the easiest weight class, besides Hamza. Belal also slammed the Sean Strickland vs. GDP rematch at UFC 312, saying that both fighters suck. Now, during an interview with the Ariel Helwani show, du Plessis issued a brutal answer to Belal.
No way they give him a direct title shot. There's no way. The UFC doesn't even like Belal Muhammad. So what makes him think that he hasn't even defended his bout once? I don't know why he's definitely better on Twitter than he is in fights, I have to say that.
Are you intrigued by this matchup at all?
No, I mean, that would be unfair.
It would be unfair, you said?
Unfair. Yeah, if I fight for Belal, it would be unfair. It would, yeah.
Meaning it would be a very one-sided matchup?
100%. Have you seen the size of the match? What is he going to do? Is he going to get somebody to help him? Is he going to sit on somebody's neck? How is it going to work? He's the smallest. I couldn't believe that he's at 170 when I saw him. I couldn't believe that he fights at 170.
Just for fun, how do you think that fight goes?
I step on his head and it's over.
Belal responded tweeting, "He can barely walk without tripping over his own feet. He ain't touching me." He then posted this clip captioned, "This guy's gonna beat me?" Daniel Cormier continues to express concern about Alex Pereira's training camp for UFC 313. Pereira will defend his light heavyweight championship against Magomed Ankalaev in March 8th headliner at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Ahead of UFC 313, Pereira has been traveling the world, most recently to Australia for UFC 312. He was a key member of Sean Strickland's corner for his former foe's middleweight title fight, and just days after the event, Poatan is still enjoying his time in Australia, even attending Drake's concert on Monday. Speaking in the latest episode of Good Guy Bad Guy, Daniel Cormier and Chael Soman criticized Pereira's approach and expressed concern about his upcoming bout against Ankalaev.
In Australia last week, still, and he was shaking the hand of Drake as Drake went on stage for his concert. One, Drake constantly loses millions of dollars betting on people, so you kind of don't want Drake to bet on you because he doesn't have the greatest track record for winning. But what is Pereira still doing in Australia, Chael? He fights in 2 weeks.
It's concerning to me. I mean, the whole thing is very concerning. One of the reasons I love Stipe as a fireman is Stipe was able to lock down. The UFC and everybody else respected that schedule so much that he slept in the same bed most nights. It's tough on the road. You can get that training session in, but it usually involves a treadmill at the hotel lobby. Maybe you and your coach clear a little bit of space, even in your room, and you do a mitt workout. It's not the same. That training is not the same. Meanwhile, you got Ankalaev is doing no media, no tours, and he's locked down in the Caucasus regions in the mountains.
With time to reflect, Extreme Couture head coach Eric Nicksick wishes he hadn't publicly spoken about Sean Strickland's losing performance at UFC 312 so soon afterward. Tuesday on his Versus podcast, Nicksick expressed regret for how he spoke about Strickland. Nicksick explained that his primary mistake was accepting the invitation from Helwani given the timing of just returning to Las Vegas after a long flight from Sydney. On top of that, Nicksick said 30 minutes before he went on Helwani's show, Strickland opened up about his mindset in the weeks leading up to the fight, and that's what threw him for a loop.
What threw me for a loop was about 30 minutes before going on Ariel, Sean is at practice with us, and Sean tells me all these things about how he felt in the weeks leading up to the fight, yada, yada, yada. his headspace. And it was very disappointing to hear where his headspace was and what his thought process was about being a champion or all these things. And that's personal. I should have known better, right?
Yeah.
I took that energy and had to process that while I go on aerial. I fucked up. And I made a miscalculation in that moment in ever accepting to go on the show, right? Number two, my wording was piss poor. What I said was accurate about the fight was uninspiring. We all know Sean. That is not how Sean fights. What I said was accurate. And am I to shoulder some of that blame? 100%. I said that as a staff. It's on us. Yeah. I've always said that.
Yeah.
But his output, his body language, his demeanor, all those things, it did not feel like Sean. And if anybody thinks that I should have lied to cover, I'm not a good coach.
Yeah.
That's a yes
Bryce
man.
Mitchell has announced that his Arc Insanity podcast will return for episode 2, despite the backlash for saying there was a good guy in episode 1. Bryce sarcastically said the new episode will be politically correct and tamed down by fancy editing, while also going off about sensitive people like Elon Musk, who Bryce says doesn't support free speech.
Hey, I want to let y'all know that episode 2 of Arc Insanity is coming. I do not care what anybody except God thinks about me. And I'm not going to let a little bit of criticism stop me. In fact, I think that was a crazy amount of feedback for a first episode on a podcast. So I'm definitely not going to stop. Once I get Arc Insanity up and going, it's going to be a regular thing once a week. If you're too sensitive for the show, then don't watch it. Apparently Elon Musk is, because he took my episode off of X. He ain't for free speech. He's a demon. Okay? The Neuralink, that's mark of the beast, dude. All you Christians need to wake up and see what's going on. So my podcast is going to be faith-based. It's going to be in favor of Christian traditional values. I talk about fighting, farming, government conspiracies. Anything I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. Apparently, 1 million something people did like it because had a lot of views before they censored it, of course. So, anyways, episode 2, it ain't going to get censored. I'm going to edit it real good, make sure that everything is politically correct for all the sensitive people that my words tend to break. They can't handle the truth, man. But anyways, episodes 2 is coming, and I love all y'all. And I really think that you're going to like this episode too. And I'm going to focus on some important